Twitter Files 8 revealed. This drop provided to us by Lee Fang, a writer over for The Independent. And he has some pretty interesting news. If it didn't feel like you were living in a PsyOp up until this moment, many of us thought, oh, COVID, yeah, and most of the news that we see feels like it's sort of highly curated and crafted to get us to do certain things. But if it wasn't that feeling for you, after today's show, congratulations, it should hit hard because the evidence is resounding. In Twitter Files 8, Lee Fang is going to guide us through the full story. He tells us in his first tweet, Twitter Files Part 8, how Twitter quietly aided the Pentagon's covert online PsyOp campaign. So the Pentagon has a covert online PsyOp campaign? Okay. All right, well, I thought Twitter wasn't supposed to be involved in that stuff, but all right, apparently they are. Despite promises to shut down covert state-run propaganda networks, Twitter documents that Lee Fang got access to shows that the social media giant directly assisted the U.S. military and their influence operations. Cool. All right, so Lee Fang, who is Lee Fang? As you can see, he is an investigative journalist. He's over at The Intercept, and he's available on Signal and other locations, so be sure to follow him. Fang reports, he says, Twitter has claimed for years that they make concerted efforts to detect and thwart government-backed platform manipulation. We are going to be a check on the government. We're going to be speaking truth to power. We're not going to be the manipulators, no. Here is Twitter testifying to Congress about its pledge to rapidly identify and shut down state-backed covert information operations and deceptive propaganda. Not on our platform, said Jack Dorsey and Vijaya. So when they were in front of Congress and there was a bunch of, useless Congress people sitting in those round tables up high on their benches, looking down upon the peasants who were coming into their court, they are, of course, bringing in the Twitter executives because the people, you and I, are all upset about Twitter censoring the hell out of everybody. And so we complain to our Congress people and they say, gosh, the people out there are a little upset. Maybe we should do something about this. Oh, yeah, you're right. Let's haul in Mark Zuckerberg. Let's haul in Jack Dorsey. Let's bring in Sundar and we'll ask him a bunch of questions and see how they answer. Meanwhile, they don't know anything about Twitter. They've never done a tweet. They have 35 people that smash their heads together to come up with one Hillary tweet. And it's a very complicated thing that is just completely over their heads. So when the Twitter executives come in, they read from their pre-arranged script, as you see here. They say, okay, loser Congress people. We're on paragraph C now. See if you can follow along in your provided notes. State-backed information operations. So this is somebody, Jack Dorsey or somebody. They say this. Combating attempts to interfere in conversations on Twitter. Congress people, it remains a top priority for the company here. And we continue to invest heavily in our detection, our disruption, and transparency efforts related to state-backed information operations. They say our goal is to remove bad faith actors. Not you guys, though. You guys are all cool up there. You're all good. I'm not talking about you. Other bad faith actors, let me clarify that. And to advance public understanding of these critical topics. And all the idiot congressmen are like, oh, yeah, sounds good. So Twitter defines state-backed information operations. Let's see if our own government falls into this category as coordinated platform manipulation efforts. Okay, coordinated platform manipulation efforts that can be attributed with a high degree of confidence to state-affiliated actors. You mean like the FBI? Whoa, yeah. State-backed information operations are typically associated with misleading, deceptive, and spammy behavior. These behaviors differentiate coordinated manipulative behavior from legitimate speech on behalf of individuals and political parties. So Twitter is, just pontificating to these Congress people. He says, whenever we identify inauthentic activity on Twitter that meets our definition of an information operation and which we are able to confidently attribute to actors associated with the government, we share comprehensive data about this activity. We give you everything that we see, Congress. Very cooperative. Very nice. Fortunately, all of that is inapplicable to our own government. We see the story continues from Mr. Fang. He writes, While they're lying to Congress through their teeth about this, behind the scenes, Twitter gave approval and special protection to the U.S. military's online psychological influence operations. Despite knowledge that Pentagon propaganda accounts use covert identities, Twitter did not suspend many of these accounts for 2 years or more. Some of them remain active to this day. But they just told Congress that they got rid of that stuff. Oh yeah, only when it's other governments. In 2017, the U.S. Central Command, called Centcom, an official sent Twitter a list of 52 Arab language accounts. Said, quote, "We use to amplify certain messages." So a U.S. official has a whole batch of bot-ish accounts. The official asked for priority service for 6 accounts, verification for 1, and a whitelist for the others. So this is an email sent over July 26, 2017. A lot of this stuff took place right after Trump won. They were very upset. They needed to build a whole slew of infrastructure to make sure that didn't happen again. So on Wednesday, July 26, somebody named Nathaniel Kaler over at Centcom, he has a mail.mil email address from to somebody at Twitter, email address redacted. So Nathaniel says, "Okay, thanks, Twitter person. Sure is tough to do web ops when you can't tweet!" Exclamation point. Very friendly and jovial. I use the exclamation point regularly. That's how I know. He says, "I've attached a list," from Nathan at the U.S. government. He says, "I've attached a list, Mr. Twitter person. The first 6 on the list are priority accounts. Ideally, we could have them verified. So just bypass them and give them your blue check mark, whatever you guys call yourselves. And can you also whitelist them?" He says in parentheses, "if there is such a thing, question mark." It's kind of like God mode. Can you give them like admin root access so they can just do whatever they want? They can spam, they can do misinformation, disinformation. There are accounts. So can you just whitelist them? He says one of them, Yemen Current, is not currently indexing, right? So if you go on Twitter and you try to find at Yemen Current back in 2017, apparently you can't find that person. And the government's like, "Yo, he's one of ours. So turn him on. We want him spreading this propaganda hard and fast. So turn his booty back on your Twitter." They also say at justice_AR is currently has a request for verification, but he hasn't heard anything back. So because he's one of our propaganda voice boxes, can you make sure he gets that blue check mark, please? The agent from the government says the rest are accounts that we use to amplify certain messages. Oh, that sounds like spammy bots that are inauthentic. Didn't Twitter just say to Congress that they didn't allow that crap on their platform? Oh, that's weird, because the U.S. government is telling them directly that they're doing that on their platform. All right. So they say, well, we use these accounts to amplify certain messages. Ideally, if we're just asking for the whole story here, ideally they could be whitelisted as well. Just kind of give us everything. Is that okay? If I'm going to ask for 1, can I ask for 35 of them? Again, if it's too big of an ask, the first 6 are the priority. All right. And if you need any sort of paperwork, like any legal documents, because of the fact that we're the government, or verification from our office or SOCOM or whatever, just please let me know. It doesn't matter what you need. I'll just get it for you because this is what we want. And then in the last little bit where they cut it off there, they say at the bottom, also, our SOCOM guys mentioned that they'd love to be able to meet up and come for a face-to-face talk. If you think the right Twitter folks would be up for it. See that down there at the bottom? Yeah, we just love to get out, have a beer or two, go out, have a hot dog, whatever. Have a nice leisurely conversation about psychological operations conducted by the military in conjunction with Twitter. Now, the same day that Centcom sent that list of 52 additional accounts, and they're all listed here. Li Fang has the full list of the accounts. If you click over to his article, he shares the full list. Not that important, so we'll fast forward through it. But there is a list of 52 accounts. Now, the same day that Centcom sent that list and say, hey, these are our buddies. Can you put them on the VIP list so they don't have to wait in line? Twitter officials used a tool to grant a special called whitelist tag. Basically, gives the US government bot accounts or whatever they are, their assets, provides verification status to the accounts without the blue check, meaning that they're exempt from spam, abuse, and other flags that would limit their account, and they're more likely to trend on hashtags. All right, so they're not going to stop them from misinformation or disinformation, which Lord knows our government is mostly that, as far as I can tell. But they're also going to increase their visibility. So they'll suppress a private citizen for making a joke. They'll censor a private person for expressing an unpopular opinion. But if it's US government propaganda, not only will they allow you to spread whatever the heck they want as a whitelist, bypassing all of the other rules, but it will also trend and actually amplify them. Amazing. Man, it's good to be at the FBI. You can see why Yoel Roth was so excited and giddy every time he had meetings with DHS. Fang continues. He says the Centcom accounts on the list tweeted frequently about U.S. military priorities in the Middle East, including promoting anti-Iran messages, promotion of the Saudi Arabia U.S.-backed war in Yemen, and accurate U.S. drone strikes that claim to only hit terrorists and not blow up families and cars after they botched the Afghanistan withdrawal, which resulted in the death of Americans as well. So these are the types of accounts that you see. And it is probably just completely fake. I don't know. I don't speak Arabic. But evidently, this is probably a nice person, young man out here who is saying, oh, gosh, man, the Americans are great. You know, this war or whatever is great. I love endless wars. Here's another one. 10/18, October 2019, another Arab account. In Arabic, it's like, U.S. fighter planes. Oh, gosh, we love endless war over here. Yes, let's continue this. Let's do another war. U.S. military, Pentagon, whatever. Here's another one. Right. And we don't even know what these accounts are. But Twitter is enabling all of them to move forward. Accurate U.S. drone strikes. Promotion of a U.S. Saudi-backed war. Promoting anti-Iran messages. It is a pure propaganda machine. Okay. Now, Twitter told us, though, that they were going to remove this stuff, but they didn't. They allowed it all. Centcom then shifted strategies, and they deleted disclosures of ties to the Twitter accounts. The bios of these accounts changed to seemingly organic profiles. One bio read, the Euphrates Pulse. Another used an apparent deepfake profile pic and claimed to be the source of Iraqi opinion. So these are just fake propaganda profiles run by the U.S. Pentagon. You see this one, and then it looks like it changed. So it goes from fighter jets are awesome, let's nuke our enemies, war on terror forever. Then it goes into, oh, let's just take a peaceful stroll down a river, down the Euphrates River. Gosh, what a beautiful day this is. Also, I have some opinions on American involvement in foreign affairs. If you trust me, I'm just a regular person that just floats around on the boats, enjoying the scenery. And I also happen to love the U.S. military. I think that the American military is great, and we should go and invade Iran also, by the way. I just tweet that randomly, in between my other real profiles. So they're getting smarter. Now, Lee says that one Twitter official who spoke to me said that he feels deceived by the covert shift. Okay, they looked like they were actual military accounts, sort of endorsed. Okay, these are military accounts. These are not sneaky accounts. Then once they got the approval and they can sneak through all the filters, boom, the switch changes and they turn into fake propaganda accounts. Still, many emails from throughout 2020 show that high-level Twitter executives were well aware of the DoD's vast network of fake accounts and covert propaganda, and they did not suspend any of them. Yeah, I wonder how many of these accounts were voting on Elon's poll when he was asking about CEO. How many of these people went and voted on that one from the DoD? How many of their hundreds of thousands or millions of accounts do they control? Now, for example, says Lee, Twitter lawyer Jim Baker, the same guy who used to work at the FBI, the same guy who met with Michael Sussman and was too stupid to realize what was going on there was criminal and played it on anyways, and then got excommunicated from the FBI to go work at the extension of the FBI, which now is, as we learned, Twitter. He was musing back in July. He was now at Twitter, 2020. He says about an upcoming DOD meeting that the Pentagon used, quote, poor tradecraft in setting up its network. And they were seeking strategies for not exposing the accounts that are linked to each other or to the DOD or to the US government. Yeah, because the other intelligence agencies are out there and they're monitoring all this stuff, right? They're responding to all of this. And the DOD doesn't want them to identify that these are actually their accounts, right? These are like assets. You know, in the CIA spy movies, when everybody's running around, it's like, protect your asset. No, I disavow the asset, right? Whatever, convert the asset. These are just profiles. You don't even need the person anymore. You just create a fake profile. And so the DOD does not want to be exposed and show that they've got this gigantic network that they're using for propaganda operations. Makes sense. Now, Lee says that a lawyer at Twitter, her name is Stacia Cardile, she replied that the Pentagon wanted a SCIF and that they may want to retroactively classify its social media activities to obfuscate their activity in the space, and that this may represent an overclassification to avoid embarrassment. Here's the email from Stacia, July 8th, 2020. Election's coming up, 11:30 a.m. From Stacia to Angela and to Jim Baker, working at Twitter. Email comes out from Stacia. It says, Jim, Angela, and I discussed attendance at this classified briefing. I heard from Facebook that they are securing SCIFs in D.C. and San Francisco for a meeting, possibly on Friday. I have some significant concerns that the motivations for classifications are slightly different than the ones you outlined in the email below. I think it's possible the DOD is using retroactive classification to obfuscate, to cover up their activity in this space. Angela and I think you would be more effective in this meeting than me, as the officials will view you more seriously. So the email is going to Jim. Jim, Angela and I discussed at this meeting. Can you step in for me? By the way, you used to work at the FBI, don't you? Are those your buddies? Like, don't you pal around with them? So they'll take you more seriously than me. Jim's like, yeah, perfect. That's why I'm here. Of course, is just to be the person who catches the ball. Whatever the FBI needs, whatever the intelligence community needs, I've got it. I am your bag man, is what Jim Baker was. Thoughts on this? Stacia says, and separate and apart from the merits, I also have some concerns with attending due to COVID and my 2 immune-compromised family members. So it's another reason why not to go to the meeting. And yeah, that's July 2020. Everybody still is running around like COVID's going to murder you. So she's still freaked out about it. Jim, he's like, I'd love to work with the FBI and the DOD and everybody over there. That's my forte. That's why we're here. I mean, I'm already getting them what they need anyway. So, all right. And they're just moving forward. In several other 2020 emails, high-level Twitter executives and lawyers, they discussed the covert network. And they even recirculated the 2017 list from Centcom, and they shared another list of another 157 undisclosed Pentagon accounts. Again, mostly focused on Middle East military issues. Now, do you think that that's all that they're limited to? Okay, we've seen the pattern here with these Twitter files. What does the DOJ do, or the FBI in this case do? What does the DOD do? Is they just slowly drip this stuff out, right? It's a little nibble. They don't come in and ask for, can you please authorize our 1 million fake Twitter accounts, please, for us? No, they do it. It's 6. It started with 6 in the first email. Just 6. That's it. If 6 is not, we have more. There's 52 of them. If 52 is too much, can you just do the 6? Those are high priority. Then you come back, you ask for more. You take little bites. You don't take the big one first. But then by 2020, everything fast forward. Now they want 157. And these are mostly Middle East and military issues. Do you think the Pentagon doesn't have, I don't know, at least the equivalent of that here for domestic policies? Probably much more than that. Now here, they wouldn't tell that to Twitter. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Lee continues, he says, in a May 2020 email, Twitter's Lisa Roman emailed the DOD with 2 lists. One list was accounts, quote, previously provided to us, and another list Twitter detected. The accounts tweeted in Russian and Arabic on U.S. military issues in Syria and ISIS, and many did not disclose any Pentagon ties. May 14th, email 2020 1207. Lisa Roman sends an email to William and others at twitter.com. BCC. Transmission of Twitter account information. Lisa says, "Hey, Bill, thank you for your time yesterday. As we discussed, attached is a spreadsheet seen out down there in the Excel file with the accounts that we described on our call. The first tab lists those accounts previously provided to us, and the second tab, associated accounts that Twitter has discovered. Please note that the second tab is not intended to be an exhaustive list, and that if the DoD is aware of additional associated accounts which may violate our rules, those should be included in the scope of our request. I would be grateful if you would confirm receipt and that you are able to access this spreadsheet without issue. Please let me know if you have any questions regarding this information." And so these are conversations about consolidating the bot list, right? Twitter's like, oh man, we've identified, you guys are not really covering your tracks very well. We can tell they're all coming from that one guy down the hall in the corner in his corner office, so separate your IP addresses or whatever, because we found them and we need to corroborate with you what the lists look like so that we don't nuke your accounts. Many of these secretive U.S. military propaganda accounts, despite detection by Twitter as late as 2020, but potentially earlier, probably earlier, continued tweeting throughout the year. Some of them were not suspended until May of 2022 or later, according to records that I reviewed. So the Pentagon is actively just pumping out propaganda through U.S. military accounts regularly. Just started to stop recently, May 2020. In August of 2022, a Stanford Internet Observatory report exposed a U.S. military covert propaganda network on Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and other apps using fake news portals and deepfake images and memes against U.S. foreign adversaries. And they're linking us over to this report. From Graphica, you can see it here. It was published August 24th, 2022. It's a 57-page document. It's from Stanford, so that must mean something. Unheard Voice, they say, evaluating 5 years of pro-Western covert influence operations. They tell us about their methodology. We talk about different regions around the world: Central Asia, Iran, Afghanistan, Middle East. We have an executive summary. They say July and August of this year, 2022, Twitter and Meta, formerly Facebook, removed 2 overlapping sets of accounts for violating their terms of service. Twitter said the accounts fell afoul of its policies for platform manipulation, unauthentic behavior, and so on. After taking down the assets, both platforms provided portions of the activity to Stanford to review. Now, one joint investigation found an interconnected web of accounts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and 5 other social media platforms that use deceptive tactics to promote pro-Western narratives in the Middle East and Central Asia. The platform's data sets appear to cover a series of covert campaigns over a period of almost 5 years rather than one homogeneous operation. These campaigns consistently advance narratives promoting the interests of the U.S. and its allies while opposing countries like Russia, China, and Iran. They heavily criticized Russia, in particular for the deaths of innocent civilians and atrocities, especially the imperial ambitions following the invasion of Ukraine in February. And to promote this and other narratives, the account sometimes shared news articles from U.S. government-funded media outlets like Voice of America and Radio Free Europe. A portion of the activity is also to stop anti-extremism messaging. Now, as with previous disclosures, Twitter and Meta did not share the technical details of their investigations. Additionally, neither company publicly attributed the activity to any organization. But they did say that the presumptive country of origin was the U.S. and Great Britain. Twitter dataset also provided a bunch of tweets. For this report, we focused our analysis on these things. These consisted of limited cases of content sharing and one Twitter account that posed as an individual in Iraq, but previously claimed to operate it on behalf of the U.S. military. They write, "We believe this activity represents the most extensive case of covert pro-Western I.O. on social media." The report is non-exhaustive, and of course you can read the rest of it through this link provided by Lee. He says that the U.S. propaganda network that they just uncovered and discussed relentlessly pushed narratives against Russia, China, and others. They accused Iran of threatening Iraq's water security and flooding the country with crystal meth, and of harvesting the organs of Afghan refugees. Lee continues, he says, the Stanford report that we went through did not identify all of the accounts in the network, but once they did name, and one they did name was the exact same Twitter account that Centcom asked for white privileges for in its 2017 email. Lee says, I verified via Twitter's internal tools. The account used an AI-created deep fake image. You see a couple graphics here. Figure 48 shows us the profile picture used by the Facebook page discoverer and two other assets in the Middle East group. Issues with the left ear and central alignment of the eyes suggest it was generated using artificial intelligence techniques. Looks pretty dang good to me. Can you tell that's an AI image? It's pretty good. I don't know. We have another one. This is the profile picture, figure 47. Left, archived version of the discoverer Twitter account with an Arabic language bio claiming an affiliation with Centcom. The right, the same account shortly before it was suspended by Twitter. Okay, so in other words, the US DoD is just changing these accounts. It was a US DoD account that was promoting Centcom, unaffiliated with Centcom. Then it turns into this random dude who is just, loves American war. In subsequent reporting, Twitter was cast as an unbiased hero for removing, quote, a network of fake user accounts promoting pro-Western policy positions. Media covering the story described Twitter as evenly applying its policies and proactive in suspending the DoD network. So the media, right, they play patty cake with Twitter all the time. Like they exist for one another, or they used to. Now there's a little bit of friction there because the journalists recognize that they're losing Twitter as the lubricant, as their distribution platform. If the journos can't share their stories, they just live on the New York Times page, which nobody goes to. So they've got to go to Facebook and to TikTok and to all of the other distribution platforms. But the distribution platforms with Twitter 1.0 were in cahoots with one another. They loved each other. They were both robbing the country of their free speech and gaining power as a result of it. Just look at all this activity. So they say, media that covered this story, oh no, Twitter is getting rid of the DoD. Twitter's the good guy. The reality is much more murky, says Lee. Twitter actively assisted Centcom's network going back to 2017. And as late as 2020, they knew these accounts were covert and designed to deceive and manipulate the public discourse. A violation of Twitter's policies and promises. They waited for years to suspend. They knew it was happening. This, my friends, is fraud. This is a fraudulent operation of their product. When FTX got indicted, when SBF got indicted, it's for defrauding his users of a product. In this case, it's the crypto. He was promising them an asset. He didn't have that available to them. He got prosecuted and charged with crimes for that. Elizabeth Holmes, her promise was amazing blood testing that was going to solve all sorts of problems. She was not able to produce that. She defrauded a bunch of people. She evidently, unless she wins on her appeals, going to prison for 11 years. Twitter defrauded via their failed promise of speech. They said that all of this was secure. They weren't censoring anybody. They certainly weren't working with the government to create propaganda bot networks being run by the DoD. None of that was communicated to us. They said the opposite. They said that nobody was allowed to meddle in any of this stuff over and over and over again. Their product was free speech. Their product was a safe environment. They were lying to every one of their users. And this is not just, defrauding a couple million customers who were customers of FTX or who were a couple thousand people who were investors in Elizabeth Holmes. This is an entire nation state level of fraud. They defrauded the whole country, arguably the world. They knew what they were doing. They were involved in it, and they lied to all of us about it. Lee says that Twitter's comms team was closely in touch with reporters, working to minimize Twitter's role. When the Washington Post reported on the scandal, Twitter officials congratulated each other because the story didn't even mention them. No Twitter employees, and it focused largely on the Pentagon. As long as they can make everybody else the bad guy, then that's okay. Here are the emails. We see the chain starts at 1:23 p.m. Says, Katie sends an email. Katie Roseborough says, "Hi there. I hope you're well. We wanted to give you a heads up that the Washington Post will be publishing a piece, most likely this weekend, that sheds more light on the U.S. government aspects of the recent Graphica Stanford report, the report we just looked at, about tech companies removing U.S.-based influence campaigns." Katie says, "Yeah, it's a story that's mostly focused on the DoD and Facebook. However, there will be a couple lines that reference us alongside Facebook in that we reached out to them for a meeting. We don't think that they'll tie it to anything Mudge related or name any Twitter employees, and we decline to comment on those. I suspect that this piece will get more attention in Washington with the DoD angle." Katie says, "We'll keep you posted." Rebecca responds at 4:52, takes her a couple hours, and she says, "Ack, A-C-K, ack, ah, thank you." Jim Baker responds, "Got it, thanks." Lauren Culbertson says, "Thanks for the flag, Katie." She's at 5:52. Baker responds at 5:15. Rebecca's first at 4:52. Oh, man. Bummer. This story's coming out. You're kidding me. All that happened in September. Yeah, Twitter's going to be implicated. But Rebecca's got great news. 3 days later at 8:03 p.m., Rebecca Hahn sends an email back over to Katie, copying Lauren, copying Jim, and a bunch of other people, including Yoel Roth at Twitter. Look at all these people. John Hughes is on there, and so on. Thrilled. Privileged and confidential. Follow-up on the Graphica Stanford report. 6:29 in the morning. Says, "Hi, folks. Here's the piece, which I think turned out as expected, formatted in a doc here. Thanks." Rebecca responds, "Oh, hey, Katie. Thanks for doing all that you could to manage this one. It didn't seem to get too much traction beyond The Verge, CNN, and WAPO editors promoting. Nice job squashing the story. The conduct," says Lee, "with the U.S. military's covert network stands in stark contrast to how Twitter has boasted previously about rapidly identifying and taking down covert operations accounts, tied back to state influence operations, including countries like Thailand, Russia, Venezuela, and others, going back to 2016. Now, Lee finishes here. It says, "Here is my reported piece with more detail. I was given some access to Twitter for a few days. I signed and agreed to nothing. Twitter had no input into anything I did or wrote. The searches were carried out by a Twitter attorney, so what I saw could be limited." Of course, he's over there at The Intercept. If you want to learn more details about him, you can go check out his work. Go to support Lee Fang and that incredible reporting. Go on over to leefang.substack.com to see what else Lee has to offer for us. And that is the end of the Twitter Files 8 report. While we are here on the day, let's see if Elon has any response. He usually has some comments on these things. Let's see what he has for us. Elon previously was sharing the story from Twitter Files 7. Says the government paid Twitter millions of dollars to censor info from the public. Confirming that for us. And shout out to Quicks with the super chat. He says, "Ack" is maybe not act like "ah." It could be like acknowledged. Very astute observation there, Quicks. Thank you for the super chat and the clarification. I don't talk like that. But maybe they do over there. We have the government paid Twitter millions of dollars to censor information from the public. We covered that yesterday. Elon has a couple things to say. He is tagging outgoing chair of the House Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff, pencil neck watermelon head. He said, hey, Adam, as the outgoing, in parentheses, because you got fired, you're going to be gone out of there soon. Republicans are taking over the House. Says, did you approve hidden state censorship in direct violation of the Constitution of the United States? Adam Schiff. Any thoughts on that, Adam? 50 Shades of Way says, hey, Elon, now that you're in charge, are you willing to make a pledge that Twitter will never accept payment from anyone or government or otherwise to censor or suppress information? Elon says, absolutely, I'll do that. No problem, not even complicated. Elon is also posting about Tesla. He says that old tweets are dead, so some other Twitter changes. Main time should have top latest and top of the last month all time. Ditto for users. Oh, look at this. Mark Andreessen. Oh, he's sharing US code 18241. Love it. Yes, this is the criminal code we've been referencing on this channel for the last several days. And here it is. Deprivation of rights. I think that many people were responsible for that. Elon says, interesting. Perfect. Good. So he's got wind of the statute. All right. All right. And so that, my friends, is it for Twitter Files 8, the PsyOps version that Twitter dropped our direction. And so, of course, we will continue to cover the Twitter Files and the entire saga as it continues to unfold. There will be many more drops. And thank you for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this, for liking this video, and for joining us on the next one. For Patriots, of course, you know, Christmas is coming up. You're probably running out of ideas. You could always get a gift certificate. You're probably not going to get a food supply before the big day, but next year. My friends, a food shortage could be coming. Even in the United States, experts have written about this as recently as July. Drought, inflation, even new policies are pushing America's food supply near its breaking point. That's why survival food is more important now than ever. And you can create your own stockpile of the best-selling 4 Patriot survival food kits ever. This is not ordinary food. We're talking about good for 25 years super survival food, hand-packed right in family-owned facilities in the United States, giving jobs to over 200 Americans. The kits are compact, they're sturdy, they're water-resistant, and they stack easily. They have different delicious breakfast, lunches, and dinners, and you can make these meals in less than 20 minutes. Just add boiling water, simmer, and serve. And right now, you can go to 4patriots.com. Use code Robert to get 10% off your first purchase on anything in the store, including this 3-month survival kit. You'll get their famous guarantee for an entire year after your order, plus free shipping on orders over $97. They're called 4 Patriots because a portion of every sale is donated to charities who support our veterans and their families. Go to 4patriots.com. Use code Robert to get 10% off. That's 4patriots.com. Use code Robert. Start building your own stockpile today. That's right, 4patriots.com, a great place to go to make sure that you're prepared with all sorts of nutritious, healthy calories in the event that you need them. But all right, so that, my friends, is our Profit Center, Obscene Profit Center break, as they like to say.